Well, welcome guys. This is podcast number 4 now. This is Jena. I've known Jena now for, how long?
I think it's been 2 years. Almost 2 years crazy. In May.
That's
we met
crazy.
On my B-Day.
So kind of crazy story. We met at a thrift store on her birthday, and I think we just like bonded over either what you were wearing or what you were buying.
I don't even know. We were just
I don't know.
Be my friend. We were like, yeah.
And then every time I go to that thrift store now, I run into you there. Yeah. It's like your place. But yeah, so kind of crazy how we met. And then we've done like business in the past. We really like had a lot in common between church, business, fitness. Like you kind of have all of the different things going for you that I was like, oh my gosh, I aspire to be like this woman.
I aspire to be like you. You're so goal oriented and just full of life, and you see opportunity and you just grab it. So it's just like, to me, it was just like a draw. Like, this girl is going somewhere.
I feel like it was that like magnetic thing where we were like together. There's like so many shared goals, and there's so many things that we both like wow, like we can learn from each other, and just like there's so many things that we both have our eyes set on that I think we kind of inspired each other. But yeah, I'm excited for everyone to like hear your story, and like your story's just getting started. So also to hear where you're going, some of the things you put together just in the last year. We were catching up, and like this woman is on fire with her goals, with the things she's putting together. You could talk a little bit about, I'm sure you will at some point, like the retreats you run. Yeah. That still blows my mind, like the house that you did that retreat in. But anyway, let's give them a little context into who you are, sort of your story, what kind of brought you to the job that you're at right now, and then what's inspiring you to start your own business and make your own way.
Yeah, I feel like everyone wants like to have like a place in the world, and it's just like how I want to show up in the world, what I want to offer to the world. It's really just an act of service out of the love that I have for worship, for God, to see people connect. Like, I put things together and I really enjoy that. Like, my creative self wants to express in all these different ways, and it has everything to do with like bringing different kinds of people together so that this shared space can be inspiring. And so I'm just like an inspiration curator, and I like to create experiences that help people to really just affirm what they already know in their heart. Yeah. That thing in their heart that they know they need to do, that thing in their mind that they've been thinking of, but they just needed that nudge to tell, for someone to say, yes, you can. Yeah. And so whether it be in fitness, whether it be in worship, whether it be on my team, whether it be parenting my teenage daughters, which is crazy, trying to tell them, yes, you can, is hard, but it is that bottom line. And once it's like clear what it is that you want to do in the world and how you want to share yourself in the world, everything is like a joy, and everything like feels very valuable, and the people that you meet are valuable. People are valuable. They're so valuable. And I've had wonderful people in my life through, from childhood to now. I'm just surrounded by amazing people that just have so much to contribute. And so being able to also identify what those contributing factors are in people's lives, like what they can contribute that can create a collective purpose and mission. So my heart is for inspiration, and my heart is for women, and it's for women to feel like whatever it is that they do, because we're not just one thing, we're so many things, and we can sometimes feel like, am I this, am I that? You're all of these things, and they can all work together.
Trying to put a label on us.
Yeah, so it's just like the working together of all of the wonderful things that you are, and I want to create a space for people to feel like they have the room to do that.
I love that. So you kind of like alluded to this. I want to go back to something you said, that you were like alluding to the fact that when you find your passion and you're really excited about something like that, you're excited about it. It makes you happy to do that. And I think a lot of people have things that like they're almost like forcing themselves to do, whether it's work or it's even a business, but they're not passionate about it, so it feels like work. And I think what you're saying now is like, this is something you love doing. You love bringing people together. You love creating like those spaces and those environments and throwing those retreats and all those things. And like, I'm curious, is that something that you always knew you wanted to do, or is that like something you had a journey to discovering?
Of course it's a journey. I mean, yes, I was 5 years old and I was like, I'm gonna do all this. No, I was born for this. But there are indicators, like almost like breadcrumbs along the way. So when I was growing up, one of the things that I really struggled with was like fitting in. Just like every like girl, I think any adolescent, any child struggles with. But my story is unique because my father had a church that was like kind of in the inner city. It was like pretty much like all black, you know, very urban, very kind of like that gritty community. And I grew up in a all white town.
Oh, wow.
And my neighborhood was.
So the church wasn't in that.
The church was not. The church was in the town, but like on the other side of the tracks.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was like going between these two worlds, and in both worlds, I like didn't fit. I wasn't that like that black girl, and then in the white setting, it was like I was very different and strange. So I was trying to find like my place in the world. I think everyone's trying to find their place in the world, right? So from a young age, I had to make some decisions on who I was going to be and what was going to be the definitive things that were going to sort of frame my identity. And I think from the start, it was like, I always loved God. I love music. I love to write. And so I would use that outlet. I would like be around the playground just like singing to myself and like writing songs and like making them up. And I would like, if there was like an argument at school, I remember like second grade, Mrs. Lou's class, I was like, there was some argument amongst the second grade girls. Okay. And I wrote a song to like bring, I was like, I wrote a song. And I was like, can I sing this song? Because it's going to like bring healing. And I think it helps. I think it's a little strange, but I think it's a little strange. But I think that those were some of those nuggets of like, how can I bring people together? So even though I always kind of felt like an outsider in a lot of settings, I wanted to include.
Yeah.
How can I include? Because I was often on the outside.
Yeah.
So how can I include? And through music, I was able to do that. And it was something that I kind of like naturally could do. And I could think of lyrics really well and melodies. And so that is like kind of an indicator. And so even with the racial things, because I was in both worlds, I could learn some of the tendencies that were in one world and the tendencies of the other. So I became sort of like a bridge.
You were removed enough to really be able to like observe and not have that like subjective. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
kind
so
of like
it was quite an interesting journey. Painful. A lot of pain because to not feel accepted, to not feel wanted, it can linger with you, and it did. And I thank God that I've been able to break through some of those barriers of rejection and pain. But knowing like who you are, like God made you different and made you special and unique, and you have a unique and special purpose in the world, it's just like a game changer. And so I started kind of using that as my superpower, even when I was super young. And I like started a choir when I was like in 10th grade, and it was called Voices of Color Choir. And I was like, we're going to get people from all different races, and we're going to sing this music. It was mostly gospel music, but gospel music is so motivating. And so like, it's unifying. So I'm like, how can I? So I think there was like these indicators along the way. So I never knew I was going to like start River and, you know, create like a whole like lifestyle experience, but I've always been involved in bringing people together, and I love to do it. And it's not just like bringing people together. It's like what people would be in a room together that normally wouldn't be in a room together, like me and you. Right. Like what in the world? Like how are we in the same space right now? But that is like the glory of like of God and just how He just like uses all these different things. So through my pain, through some a lot of tears, a lot of conversations with my mom, who really helped me to like kind of see what light I had. She was so instrumental in that, and being able to be resilient enough to withstand like the peer pressure to be like everyone else. I really made a decision very early on that I just wasn't going to be that.
I have a couple things. First, I heard this concept from someone. They were talking about childhood. It was a guy, he'd gone through a lot, and he was very successful. He's on a podcast being interviewed talking about like the businesses he had built, and he was talking about his childhood. And he was saying how like it was kind of like this debate between him and the interviewer of like, well, would you, like if you were raising kids, would you put them through what you went through, given you have now what you have? And it was like this dilemma for him of like, do I put my kids through that pain? Why would I make them endure that? They're supposed to stand on my shoulders. But then again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that pain. So like, looking back, growing up, would you take away any of the pain you had to go through? What would you change?
Everybody wants to circumvent pain. And those pain points were truly painful. But I wouldn't change it because it really did make me who I am. Yeah. It really did. And I think a lot of people can say that when they're on the other side of an obstacle. You can say, it was hard, but it wouldn't change. I wouldn't change it. But I think if I could give advice to myself, that little girl that was struggling, I would say, one day, these struggles are going to make you a gem.
Yeah.
And don't despise them. And so, yeah, I think my journey is a lot like a lot of people's journey. That, I know I'm not speaking a foreign language when I'm saying like everyone has like challenges that they have to overcome. But to change it, we can't.
And you really can't say whether you would or not until you come out the other end, because that's the only point where you're like, okay, like this is what the net benefit or net loss was to going through that. So I think most people, it's like they might tweak this or that, but like overall, you had to go through that to become who you are. And I'm curious because I'm not a parent or anywhere close to being a parent, but I would love to hear like your perspective now as a parent, like, and how you shape and mold your kids and put them through the things they need to go through to become the people they need to be, but like also protect them from maybe things that you like didn't want to go through. And like, what's the balance there? What's it like?
You know what? I don't know if I have arrived at any balance. They are, first of all, they live in a completely different state than I grew up in.
Yeah.
This state, I didn't grow up here, so they have, their life is different than mine. Their generation is different than mine. Their thinking is different than mine. There's no way to replicate what was there. I think some of the things that are really valuable that my parents entrusted me with is like really listening. Like my mom is such a great listener. And so if anything I can do is just adopt some of the things that really were helpful to navigate struggles, not to necessarily like, lessen them or make them like I can't
try to like
I can't
make this
like
artificial environment.
You can't do that. You can't do that. But I can like the wisdom from my mom is like listening, and the wisdom from my dad is like honoring. So it's like the two is like listen and honor. Like those are the two things that I try to like teach my children. Like, and that's all I can do because their life is completely different. Like some of the stuff they do, my dad would like have my whole mind. like there's just like no way I wouldn't even survive. Yeah. I would not even survive. I would be dead. Yeah. If I spoke sometimes the way that my 13-year-old rises up to say, like there's no way. So like listening and honoring, like both my parents are like wonderful. I'm so blessed. They believed in me first. They saw things in me first. And my mother always jokes to say I was born when like Mount St. Helens erupted, which is a volcano that erupted in 1980. Giving my whole age here. But she's like, you're a whole force. And she was like, I knew, like, giving birth to this child on this day.
You caused the earth to shake.
Like, the earth is shaking. God announced your presence. It's like an announcement. So it's like, I don't know the last time that volcano has erupted, but I was born when it did. So I feel like my mom has always been like, I don't know who this girl is, but she's a force. And I'm so thankful that she didn't have such a strong ego that she made me be like, you're gonna do as I say and do it. She was never like that.
So is it more of that like balance of like, I respect you, you respect me, as opposed to authoritarian?
Yes. Yeah. She was such a good coach. She's always been a great coach. And I think especially as like a black mother parenting, sometimes the stigma is like the black mama is not gonna have it. But there was moments, definitely there was moments where she was just like, girl, I'm about to like, but she would let me
Be yourself.
Be myself. Like, go ahead, have the tantrum. We'll talk when you're done.
Yeah.
You know, where I think some parents would be like, not in my house. Not like she was just, you know.
And I feel like that's like how you build the trust with your kid, where they can come to you and they can have emotions and they don't have to like, you know, be all like proper because you're this authoritarian figure that's like removed from them, which I think that's like a tough kind of dilemma because I see both sides of it. But yeah, that's beautiful because I mean, at the end of the day, like your parents can be your best friends.
Yeah.
And your kids can come to you.
Yeah.
You know, when they have an issue and trust you, that's like you've won.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like that growing up, so to speak. I mean, they were my parents, and I feared my father for sure. But my dad left in me like this legacy and both my parents are still alive, but I feel like I have his legacy of like just loving God, loving people with everything. Like
you have kind of carried that forth, like you were in like a very similar spirit to where he was. So do you feel like that was a big factor? Oh,
totally. Yeah. Totally. Like, I mean, my dad is like, Jenna, give God your best. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I don't know. That is, those nuggets, those moments in the, you know, in the Buick. Yeah. driving in the maroon Buick.
Stop. It was maroon? Yes. My dad had a maroon Buick. It was probably a little bit newer, but it was like a classic at the time. So it was 90s or something. Yeah. Those are some moments. It's a bad thing. He was so proud of his Buick too. He loved it. That's so funny. Okay, so putting it all together a little bit for the audience, tie together how like the worship comes together, the music, the fitness, the book, which is new and not yet out there for everyone, but I feel very privileged to have read some of it. And then like the retreats and all of that, like how does it all come together into this lifestyle brand that you have?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think that if I can sort of put the puzzle pieces together, I mean, the fitness piece has everything to do with like owning your strength. Mm-hmm. When that kind of trajectory of my life, like because of the kind of outcast thing, I definitely had some self-esteem issues and body image issues, and that I talk about that in my book as well, like just how, you know, just 2 decades really of just spinning my head around like trying to fit society's picture and not feeling like I measured up, but coming to a place where to say, if I'm saying I'm really worshiping God, my whole being has to do that, you know, in body, mind, and spirit. And so the fitness is an integral part to like the glue of like how I live my life in honor to God, and also like what He has gifted me, which is this body to move, and I sense His presence when I move, and I'm strong, and I'm not afraid to say I'm strong, and I can lift a lot of weight, and yes, I can do it, but I work really hard, and it's not for anyone else, but it is for like the honor. Yeah. Like,
can you brag for a second about how much weight you can lift? Because I just want to hear it.
Patrice, don't make me do that. Like,
I don't remember what it was, but I remember like a year ago or something you told me, and like I couldn't even process it because I know what I can lift, and it's like not even half.
Well, my favorite lift is a deadlift, and I do a regimen from Thinner, Leaner, Stronger. Okay. It's a book by Mike Matthews. Okay. And he has a regimen that you, in a one sitting, like if you get 10 reps, you move up 5 pounds. Okay. So within a set of 3, if you get 10 reps, you're aiming for 8 to 10. If you get 10, you move up. So how I learned how to like get heavier in the weight was in each, you know, routine at the gym, hit 10, I add 5. So within my deadlift for 10 reps, my highest has been 240. So like that, you know, I'm hoping to get 250 this year, just for 10 unbroken reps, which, you know, I'm not a power lifter. I don't compete or anything like that, but it's just something that I can do. Just a little side thing I can do. But, awesome. You know, but even with my clients, I encourage them to say like, you can only grow from where you are. you cannot grow from anywhere that you are not. And so my starting place was like 135, and I built to that.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so I'm not ashamed of where I started. That's where I started.
Yeah.
And it makes me even feel more proud because of where I am now.
Yeah.
I never would have imagined that I could be there, but creating a system that really works and finding a system that really works, game changer.
Yeah,
So
I love that. And like, I feel like you kind of like glossed over something that is super kind of like a key moment for a lot of women, where like you go from just working out for the aesthetic to working out for strength.
yeah,
I mean, some women don't have that like switch, and some women never have to go through it. They're just there for the right reasons. But I think that's also like something that I realized in the last year or so, because I was terrified of like the weight section of the gym. I was like a cardio bunny and abs, and that was all I did. And then I met a girl at the gym, and we started working out together, and she kind of taught me like how to use machines and like built up my confidence a little. If it wasn't for her, I'd still probably.
You need a partner.
Yeah.
You need a partner.
Yeah. It was
I've always
we went
had
to
a
the gym
partner.
every day together for like until she moved to California. But like that was the deal breaker, was like I was like, okay, now I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing some progress. Why would I just like go and do I could go for a walk if I want to, but like
and walking's great.
Walking's great, but I'm like, I do not need to spend an hour on the treadmill. That's ridiculous. And it's been so fun because like I started doing upper body, and I'd never consistently done upper body, and I saw like a little, like nothing noticeable, but like to me, I'm like, I can see that, and that was so exciting because I'm like, I've never been strong before, so to like you know, have a little bit of strength and a little bit of progress.
But you are strong,
So
and that's the thing. Like you are strong. It's just figuring out how you're strong. You are strong. There is strength. Everyone has strength, so it's just like figuring out what are those strengths. And so that's like a river brand. That's like so on brand. Like, what is the strength? How can you pull it out and make it more accessible to yourself and others?
Yeah.
You know, I think so many people that have done great things in the world, there's so many people that I admire that have done great things in the world. It comes back to others. And it's never about like you and just what you can do, but like how others can feel. And when I recognize, even like when I made my first retreat and you know, brought some women together, and I had a wonderful team of friends that said, Jenna, you want to host a retreat? We'll help you do it. And I'm just like, well, can you cook? And can you do this? And can you do that? And we just like brought everyone's gifts to the table and made it happen. And people walked away feeling lighter. They felt whole. They felt seen. They felt valued. They felt loved. They felt reconnected to God. I don't know what else to say. Like, what a blessing.
When you create an experience like that, like, you don't have to advertise or market. It's like, they're going to tell their friends. They're going to keep coming back because, like, you've created a product, even though it's a very, like, spiritual and tangible thing. It is a product at the end of the day. You've created a product that markets itself, which, like, I love the business side of things. And I'm curious sort of like how you like came up with that idea. Was it just like something inspired by like your friend group, or like was it something you experienced that you wanted to recreate? Like how'd you come up with the retreat?
So the retreat came, I had like there's like kind of two veins here. I had this like conversation with a woman in my church who I didn't know her. Because I sing and I lead worship, and it's a larger church, and so she saw me for like years. I had no idea who she was. And then she like DM'd me, and she was just like, pretty much like, will you be my friend? Like, and I was just like, okay, I mean, we can go for coffee or something like that. Like, I know. But she's like, I've been watching you. And she's like, you're a whole brand. I'm like, what are you saying? And I was just like, I didn't even know her. And she was starting to tell me some of the things of how I impacted her. And
without even
like,
that connection.
I didn't even know. And so like I was like, yeah, I'm a worship leader and a fitness coach, and you know, I used to be a history teacher. You know what I mean? Like I know that I used to be a history teacher. Like how do I put all these things together? And I was like, I like things. I was like water, and that's where river kind of came to surface. Where it's just like for me, things need to flow, and so that water metaphor felt like it could encompass all the things that I wanted to create under the umbrella of like well-being. And then like fast forward like 2 years, I really felt inspired to speak to another woman at my church who was really a high-powered executive in a company, in a beauty business. And I didn't really want to talk to her about her beauty business. I wanted her to help me to figure out what was my next step. I was like, this is thing inside of me. I don't know how to get it out. Can you help me? And like the year before, just six friends of ours, we came together and we had like just like a friends retreat, and they ended up kind of like leaning on me to like not organize it, but just like once we were there, like, okay, what are we doing next, Jena? Like, it was just like, and I was just like, let's pray. We're gonna do this, and then I realized how fulfilling that was, and I was like, I would really love to recreate that on a larger scale. Yeah. And that same year, we were like, let's do a retreat. I'm like, this is gonna be River. This is gonna be my life offering, and I don't want to cry. It just resonated. Yeah. It just resonated. Like, I'm a river, you're a river. We have rivers inside of us.
I'm
flowing. You know, it's just like, you know, like God, like going in the river of God. Like He's this immersive source that you can immerse yourself in, be involved in, flow with, and just going with that current of like not going with like the flow, but your flow. Yeah. And that to me, it's like being able to identify your flow. It's a game changer.
I love so many things that you just said, but like just like to unpack like the brand, like I feel like so many people are trying to figure out, okay, like I have like this creativity or I have something I want to do, but I can't identify it. Kind of like where you were a couple of years ago, trying to figure out like how to get it out. And I think you've done it so beautifully because you have like a very clear mission, and like you're not limited. Like your brand is so broad, from like literally like fashion to music to like these in-person experiences to like the book and like that virtual experience, and like there's so many elements to it, but you're still very niche. Like your niche is so clear, and I just don't know if I've ever met somebody that has both of those things, like the opportunity and like that position to just like grow this huge brand. And I know you have like a lot of visions for this year. We were talking about like it's the money year, and like make that impact, and then like you're so niche, like you're very clear on what you're doing. Because some brands, I think they're like they want to do everything, and so they don't actually do anything well. Yeah, but you're like you're unlimited in what you can take and create with that brand, but you're very niche in what you're trying, like the environment and the impact you want to have. That's like to me the best balance. Like what else?
You said it best. I don't even know if I could re-say that. Like that was just what just happened? Like what knowledge just what revelation just came right now? Oh my God.
That's just so cool though to me. Like I don't know. I think because I struggled for so long to figure out like what I wanted to do, and I was like, I know I'm creative, I know I'm driven, I know I have problems with authority. So like let me combine these.
You sound like my daughter.
It's like, okay, well, I guess entrepreneur is probably the best career path here. Yeah. But I was like, okay, so like, what is it gonna be? Like, you know, I try this, I try that. I did e-commerce. I'm like, and I just like, I felt like I was still just kind of like figuring out what it was. But when I realized like, okay, this is the impact I want to have. This is like the mission. Yeah. Then it's just like, what is the best way to accomplish that? What is the best way to convey and communicate that mission to people? Yeah. And I like was listening to somebody talk today on a podcast, Alex Hormozy, who was talking about how like you don't need to market a good product. Like a good product, like it might take longer if you don't market it because people will have to. It'll just be word of mouth. But a good product will market itself, and you don't have to, sell. It was kind of like he quoted somebody who's saying like, sales is what you do when marketing failed, and marketing is what you do when the product failed. Wow. And I was like
it took me, I'm going into year 3, but everything has been like word of mouth. I haven't had a whole lot of social media presence and trying to make it seem like I'm somebody, like, because I'm still trying to figure out like who that person is that I do want to share. And now I'm getting more clear, and I'm also open to the evolving of it. So I'm a very like, I want to be always like in tune with like what the Spirit is saying and like where people are. And so I don't want to just do things just to like do them.
But just be like, oh, I want to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
this person. Let me change it to that image.
No, like it's really like just going. I'm like following my own advice. Go
Yeah.
with the flow.
Yeah.
Like go with this flow, and then as things get clear, then you can be like, even you can maybe the cadence is getting a little bit more like we're picking up pace here, and so I'm excited because I feel like what I have, I've always had, and it's just a matter of finding those other people that want to connect to what they already have too.
Yeah, that are magnetically.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I love that because I feel like just in like what I've seen, like studying people that are super influential and have a big social platform, like the best, and granted, there's people with massive platforms but they don't have a good brand. And then there's people that have really come up slowly, but their brand is rock solid. People know exactly who they are. They never put on a front or anything. And like I think Alex Hormozy, that guy I was telling you about, he's a great example of that. But like there's a few people, and they made videos or they made podcasts or they wrote books for a decade before they blew up, or like like 5 years. And it's like, but that if that's the cost that you have to pay in order to remain authentic to who you are and what you want to do, then like that's worth it than trying to put on a front,
it's
for how
so
long.
worth it. I'm like obsessed with Brianna Weiss Pivot here right now, and one of the things that she said in her book was like, you can't desire something that you don't already contain. And so like what your deepest desires are, they're there inside of you. You just have to make a decision on your willingness to climb that mountain to pull those desires into reality. And so for me, this is the the mountain, and not just going up a mountain, but down a mountain too, because going down a mountain, like the highs and lows of life, coming down can be treacherous as well. You can trip and fall, when you're coming down off the high and things are going well, and like, you coming down, like, as I've done some really great like productions and things that I've done for my work and ministry and things like that have felt very satisfying. And the other side of that mountain can be just as hard, but just knowing what mountain you have to climb and making a decision to say, this is my mountain. This is my mountain. I'm going to climb it. And I have to be the one to pull these things together. And for me, I'm not sure of Brianna Weiss's religious or faith background, but for me, it's like, if God has started something in me, He is faithful to finish it.
Yeah, it's there for a reason.
So it's just,
And I think that's so true because like what you said about like if you have a desire, like it's already inside you. Because I think at the end of the day, like people that are really driven, that have like a big goal and a big vision, like it's not so much about that specific accomplishment, but like in between that process of who you have to become in order to do that.
Yes.
Because like I look back and I'm only 22. I haven't done anything crazy, but like even little things that I'm proud of. Like I look back and I'm like, the most beautiful part of that was like when I was like literally like in the rut, in the gutter, trying to figure it out. Like had no idea what I was doing because like that was where like like the iron was forged. That was where like the grit was developed, and like without that, it wouldn't have felt good at the end. It wouldn't have even been worth it to like just just like pay for that accomplishment. It's like okay, why? I think that's why like there's people that have like that instant fame, or like a lot of celebrities, they really battle with either imposter syndrome or like depression because they don't really feel like they necessarily earned it, or maybe they didn't develop the characteristics to really feel adequate for that kind of a platform. And I think it's the biggest gift is just going through that process, the person you have to become.
You are so wise. I think that you've been in this earth before. You're just resurfacing as a 22-year-old person.
Oh my God.
Seriously. I mean, most people don't even understand that their process is priceless until they're well into their 50s or 60s. They don't even see it as a blessing. And the fact that you've been able to say, I know that I will have to go through and get sharp and grind a bit and, go through some stuff and be okay with that. And your mindset has such like it's just so profound. Like, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of like this force here. Like, I'm afraid because it's like, watch out, world, because you're a special human being. You really are.
You're flattering me. me right now. I put all the credit on just the people that I've associated with and like the influence that they've had on my mindset. Just like holding yourself to a higher standard. And I think that's easy to say and hard to do because when you're faced with like situations, it's like, well, do I say something or do I, just go along with this? But like when you actually hold yourself to a higher standard, and it's not even necessarily a sacrifice. Like for example, like let's say your friends are asking you to go out or whatever, and it's like you committed to getting a certain amount of work done that day. It's like, to me at least, that's not a sacrifice to be like, no, I'm going to stay home personally, because like I love what I do. I love building and creating things very similar to you.
Yeah.
But also it's like that is because of what I'm ultimately going to achieve. Like that's just the cost, and you can't negotiate the price of success. Like, if you're going to try and cut corners, it's going to be the exact same as like those people that they get to the end and they didn't really develop into the person they had to be. And I think that's like really, really powerful. And also like what we were saying about like the process, like I have this feeling, and I think it's just because of people that I've heard their story and they talk about it. It's not anything original, but just that like right now, even though like it doesn't feel like it all the time, that like I'm gonna look back at this at some point and I'm gonna be like, that was the best of times.
Yes.
Like those times when I had no clue what I was doing. I was absolutely terrified. I did not know if I was gonna make money. I knew that month. Like I'm gonna look back at that one day and I'm gonna be like, wow.
Yes.
That was it. That was living. That was it.
I love that, and I love that what you are describing is someone that knows what's going to contribute to your goal and what's going to take away from it. And I was telling you my brand new discovery, and this is probably like, all the wise people are like, yeah, we knew that already. But it was just like, if your goal is not clear, if you don't know what hurts it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what is taken away from it, then it's not clear.
Yeah.
But if you know what's going to take away, you know what's going to help you get, not just like the steps, but like if you do certain things because you can sabotage yourself, by your actions or inactions or habits, and pushing past those places that you've been, those familiar places of being really excited and for 2 weeks and being like, never mind, or, I did this thing for like 7 days, or I did this thing for a year, and then just get, maybe it wasn't what I wanted. And I'm not saying that you can't pivot and make shifts in your life, because I think everyone does and everyone needs to, but pushing past those points of where you've been to go where you've not been. That's scary, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. All of this scares me. To do this even a third year and like we're gonna have a calendar and we're gonna do this and I'm gonna do ebook and blah blah blah, and I wrote this book, like I haven't done anything like this before. I have no idea what the other side of this is, but I do know that I have to do it. I do know that it's a part of my journey, and I'm joyfully and honored and privileged to be able to have something to contribute.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in myself.
Yeah, and you should. It's inevitable that like you staying steady for 3 years, you've already gone way farther than most entrepreneurs do. Like most businesses fail in like the first 1 to 2 years, and like that's just so cool to think about. Like if you can maintain that mindset, like it's inevitable at some point.
Yeah. And
like you said, like adjusting where needed, but not losing your sight and your vision on what is the end goal and what you want to achieve ultimately. Like so long as your eyes are locked in on that prize, you can pivot.
Yeah.
But like I think what you were saying too, like it resonates with like a lot of entrepreneurs, because we're like all kind of like ADHD. Oh, that's like that's a great way to make really great money right now. I could do this on the side. But it's like, okay, what actually is getting me to my goal?
Yes.
And like how can I eliminate everything that's not?
Yeah.
And really just like get dialed in.
Fix your eyes on Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's a wrap. That was a perfect place to end. That was amazing. Oh my gosh. Is there anything else you would like to say?
I just want to thank my mom. No, this is this is not an award ceremony. No, this is all I support. I just really think that anyone who's listening and wondering if they have something, you do. But it is yours to discover.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Where can they find you on Instagram?
River Life river_style.
Love it.
So River Lifestyle. That's on Instagram, and that's where all I is right now.
Yeah.
Like
Everything is there, and updates if there's anything more will be on there.
yes,
So
you know, but
stay tuned.
We're building. It's all good. And
Amazing.
I'm not in a rush.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. I'm sure if anyone was listening closely, they picked up some really good nuggets. That was amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.